Today, it is August 9th, 2024. We are 4 days away from the Turfgrass Field Day and a week long of events at the Turf Farm. Online today, we got Dr. Tyler Carr, Dr. Dave Shetlar. Dr. Shetlar, insect update.
Okay. When I was mowing my lawn this last week, what there is of my lawn, it still hasn't recovered. It seems like wherever I live here in Hilliard, whenever we have a rain front, it seems to magically divide and go north and south of me. So I've had very little water in my neighborhood. But I noticed this little fluff ball. It's about a 3/4 of an inch, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch long and a half inch wide. And I thought, oh, I need to stop and pick that up. And when I got to the backyard, I found another one of the little fluff balls. And what this is telling me, people see these periodically and they send me pictures. And what is this in the lawn? Do I need to be worried? Is it some kind of a funky disease? No, these are little parasitic wasps that generally parasitize some of the bigger caterpillars. Things like cutworms and armyworms get parasitized by a little tiny black wasp. And when those wasps are ready to pupate, the wasp larvae have eaten all the guts and everything out of the caterpillar. Though it's amazing, the caterpillars can still kind of move a little bit, but they've got no guts or anything else on the inside of them. And the little larvae emerge, they cut holes through the exoskeleton and emerge and move together to an upper location where they spin this silk. And then the little cocoons are on the inside of it. So this little ball of what looks like some cotton candy is actually filled with a couple of dozen little parasitic wasp pupae. They're little hard, round, spindle-shaped pupae on the inside of those. So if you see them, don't step on them. Don't try to destroy them. They're beneficial because each one of those wasps that come out will go hunt for more caterpillars to parasitize. Now, speaking of armyworm, Zane Radenbush, who used to be on our team and is now working with another company, still lives in Worcester, Ohio, and his wife, Amy Rodenbush, works with one of the field crop entomologists. She's an entomologist also, and she sent this message day before yesterday that in their pheromone traps, which are located in a couple of locations in the northern and western part of Ohio, they got some incredible numbers of fall armyworm adults. This is a little bit alarming because the other people that I've been talking to haven't gotten very many fall armyworm adults and their pheromone traps. And here in the Columbus area, I think I can count on one hand the number of fall armyworm adults that I've gotten in my light trap. So, but it does appear that there are some locations that they may be here. And so be on the lookout that this generation of adults, my feeling is these aren't fly-ins. These are probably ones that have matured in the corn crop and probably arrived here last month and are coming out now as adults. And so these will be looking for green turf. They're obviously not going to be looking for my turf, which is brown, but they'll be looking for green turf. When the female finds the green turf, she'll be laying eggs. Now, what we are also seeing, I've gotten several reports of common armyworms, and everybody's confused. They see a striped caterpillar and they think, oh, it's an armyworm. Is it fall armyworm or is it yellow striped armyworm? Well, here is a common armyworm. Notice that the common armyworm has typically got a brown to light brown head. And if you'll notice on the head, there's these two dark stripes coming in here. They kind of look like parentheses marks. If you have the fall armyworm will also be striped, but the to me really distinguishing features are these tubercles that are on its rear end, but if you look at its head capsule, you'll see an inverted white Y shape mark. So a brown parentheses marks or inverted parentheses marks or a white Y-shaped mark is the difference between the common armyworm and the fall armyworm. Now, of course, if you're on a golf course, or I find in a lot of athletic facilities, they've got flags on the corners of each of the fields and things like that. Remember that the fall armyworm is different than the common armyworm. Common armyworm females lay their eggs on the grass leaf blades. The fall armyworm and the yellow striped armyworm, which we occasionally get up here, always lay their eggs on a permanent structure overhanging the turf. That might be on a leaf blade or something like that, but typically in large fields of turf grass, there's no trees for them to lay their eggs on, so they'll pick other structures. And here's a flag actually that was out on a athletic field near my home when we did have the fall armyworm outbreak 3 years ago, and this is what the egg mass looks like. So you can actually get kind of a prediction if you go out and inspect these on a regular basis. I would say, every time you mow, take a look at those flags. If you start seeing some egg masses, then be alerted that you might see some fall armyworms activity. Now, it's probably going to take about 2 weeks for the eggs to hatch and the larvae to get big enough to cause any visible damage out there. So, but be on the lookout for these critters. I think they might find a few sites where they might be causing a little bit of trouble this year. I think that's about all I've got. Again, on a grub update, the northern third of Ohio has been getting plenty of rainfall, and so the grub populations are going to be developing as normal. Down here in the middle part of Ohio and the southern part of Ohio, it's been kind of hit or miss when it comes to the rainfall events. But my feeling is that we did have a good adult emergence and a good egg laying period back in June and early July. Once those eggs hatch, the larvae can survive droughty conditions. The only thing that a drought condition will do is delay their development. So instead of seeing grub damage where you've got rainfall or irrigation in middle or late September, it might not be until October that you see grub damage if you've got drought-stricken areas. That's all I've got.
And I assume, Dave, if there is damage in those drought areas, you may see some digging residuals.
Yes, it's kind of interesting. I've already eliminated 4 raccoons out of my backyard this year. They seem to really relish my vegetable garden, so I have to trap them and get rid of them. But I've noticed that some of them have been digging in my turf, and my feeling is they're probably going after earthworms at this time of the year. Though if you do get caterpillars, they like big fat juicy caterpillars too. But the real digging for white grubs usually doesn't occur until September and October.
All right. And that's usually a lot more of the damage as well. Thank you, Dr. Shetlar, with the good news on fall armyworm. Dr. Carr.
And I thought you were going next.
Yeah, sorry, completely bad editing. All right. One thing that I think some of the state was missing this week, a lot of the guys on the relatively close to the lake in the Cleveland got pretty annihilated with storm damage on Tuesday. One EF1 tornado came in off the lake and has left a lot of people without power. So patience, and obviously there may be some required tree removal going on now because those trees may be deemed unsafe. So it's not something where advantage has been taken. The other thing I noticed lately also was with those high humid temperatures, brown patch was festering underneath some of your high cut turf. And what you may notice is that when you finally cut that lawn, if you've left it alone for a couple of weeks, that you'll have these patterns of brown patches that may be 2-3 foot wide, and that would have been the brown patch festering underneath. However, don't be overly concerned by that. The weather conditions will come back in our favor. If you have made a fungicide application, then that will also help take care of it. As long as these temperatures stay back in those high 70s, low 80s, then most of those problems should go away and there's no need to panic. I'm not sure Dr. Carr is going to touch on field day. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Well, if that's the case, I'll let Dr. Carr finish off.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Speaking of diseases, I'm no pathologist. I was walking around our turf facility this week and noticed this. So this is bentgrass fairway, where dollar spot is taking over in all areas except for where fungicides are applied. This is what Todd Hicks, who manages these trials, this is what he loves to see. Treatments, fungicide treatments, non-treated areas. You can see these alleyways are just covered with dollar spot. So I'm hoping these conditions stick around for field day next week. These are great visuals. Speaking of dollar spot, we have a bentgrass cultivar evaluation trial that's active at the facility that will be a field day stop as well. That dollar spot is starting to creep its way into these cultivar evaluation trials. So this is bentgrass fairway. You can just see cultivar here on the right getting a lot of dollar spot, fair amount of dollar spot, and the one on the left and the ones surrounding are not getting as much dollar spot. So there's also some brown patch popping up in these areas. This area has not received any fungicide this year. So it'll be interesting to see if there's good cultivar separation with all these newer bent grasses. And there's some older standards in there that may get more dollar spot than others. I don't necessarily know exactly what cultivar this is, but they will be labeled next Tuesday for the OSU OTF field day. So back to doom and gloom. Last week when we spoke, this is the map I put up, the drought monitor. I mean, most of you look out the window, unless you're up in the northwestern part of the state, you probably see some brown or dormant turf grass. And some areas of the state received rainfall this week. We look at this map, you've got areas on the western side of the state that received, well over 2 inches. Some parts in the northeastern part of the state, I mean, really this whole northern part of the state got over an inch. Northeastern part of the state got upwards of 5 inches in some places, maybe close to 7 inches in some places. But we're still looking at this week's drought monitor. We haven't seen a whole lot of change. This area in the northeastern part of the state's decreased a little bit, but we're getting so much rain in a short period of time that not all of this water's really making its way down into the soil. So yes, while we're getting rainfall, we really could use a nice, slow, requenching rain to help us, get our turf grass to recover. Now, the upcoming weekend and next week, we're going to have some more normal temperatures. This weekend's going to be really nice. I'm probably going to sleep with the windows open this weekend. Hopefully nobody knows where I live, try to break into my house. But if with these temperatures being a little bit lower in the mornings next week, maybe we'll be able to get a little bit of recovery in areas that are under drought stress and have gotten some rain. So in terms of field day, like Dr. Nangle mentioned earlier, we have a week full of field days. We have the Ohio Turfgrass Foundation Ohio State Field Day on Tuesday. We've got around 200 people registered for that currently, or at least last I heard. And so be on the lookout if you're registered for that and the Ohio Lawn Care Association Field Day on Wednesday. The parking is going to be different than in years past. So you should get an email the day before or so of the event with directions on where to park. So you won't be parking in the East Field this year. So we've got on Tuesday, we have people speaking that have been here for 40 years, up to or down to people that have been here for 2 months. So we've got a wide range of speakers, lots of new topics, and also on Wednesday, the Ohio Lawn Care Association will be able to see some new research and activities. And then the low input turfgrass field day, which I believe that some emails have been sent out about. And that event is from, I believe, 10 to noon, Dr. Nangle, on Thursday. So if you have interest in registering for that, and you haven't gotten a link, shoot us an email and get you registered for it. So with that, I will share my screen again. And well, hold on one second. I am having technical difficulties. I will share my screen again and with the contact information for our team. So we have our Buckeye Turf website, an email. That's the contact that I was saying you could reach out to, or you could interact with us or message us on social media. And we also have a podcast. Anything else anybody wanted to add to that before we bid our farewell?
No, thank you, Dr. Carr. We'll all hopefully be here next Friday looking slightly frazzled after a long week. But that's all part of the industry and the 100 days. Next week, we'll actually see the end of the 100 days. So the battle is basically over for the older generation. The younger generation say, well, that's not the 15th of August anymore. It's now the 15th of September. But there we go. All right. Thank you, folks. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Thanks, guys.